Julia and Talmage, when you started in the studio in the fall, I was so glad that you had come into the studio because I liked you immediately. And your mother had started you on lessons and had done a very good job. You really liked music, and that makes everything much easier, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So we started work, and I was thinking last night about all the things that we've studied and tried to do, and I came up with the conclusion that your Gothic dance was the best thing you have done all year. What do you think of that conclusion?
It's a great conclusion.
You like
yes.
it? Does it seem true to you?
Yes.
Think about the different things we've done. We've done a lot of different things, but that one really stands out to me. Okay? And I can't ever remember how old people are, but my students, a lot of teachers have written to me and wanted to know your ages and how long you had studied in the studio. So Julia, how old are you, dear?
I'm 10.
Are you? Wonderful, all right. And Talmage?
I'm 11.
Deepers, I thought you were about 40 and 45. You're so smart. Okay. And you've been in the studio since the fall of 2010. And so that's a school year. Okay? So that's our statistics. Now, when we think of the Gothic dance, when we first started it, it was quite an undertaking. And Talmage wanted to play the secondo part because it looked a little harder, which was, I thought, very gallant of him. And Julia didn't start it right away. She forgot 1 week that she had it, and so she got a later start. But we got going on it. And do you remember that at first you were playing it really quite carefully? Da, 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 da. And that was a good way to start, perhaps, but we didn't think it would dance very well that way, did we?
Nope.
So what was the first thing we really had to come to grips with and work hard on? What did we need to improve?
The dance in it?
The dance in it, that's right. You can't dance when you're stomping your feet with each beat. But it wasn't easy to do because there's a lot going on in that piece. So how did we solve that problem? Gothic dance is in triple meter. And what is triple meter?
Metric stress.
That's it. Good. When you have meter, you have metric stress. And which is always the strongest beat, unless the composer tells us to do something else?
The first beat.
The first beat. Do you remember our hand signals for triple meter? Then have hand, tip, tip, hand, tip, tip. And the second tip is light. The third tip is like we're diving into 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we're dancing, you see. And that's what Gothic dance needed. So having those hand signals and getting that into our performance made it possible for you to just dance beautifully through the whole piece. It just went wonderfully, right? Okay.
Right.
Now, what did you find that you could accomplish more when you were practicing by yourselves in terms of getting our metric stress going, or when you were practicing together? Which did you think, Julia?
Practicing together.
Yes. Now, what about you?
Definitely together.
Now, why do you think that was?
We're able to guess and know how the other person plays.
Right. And that made you, and what were you going to say, Julia?
At first, you don't really know what
What's going to happen when you put it together. So that's always a mystery, isn't it?
And then you work together for a while, and you kind of get how to do it.
Okay. So I want to point out what a good team you were. And the other day I mentioned that to Julia, and she said, well, we're brother and sister. And I said, well, I know a few brother and sisters that wouldn't work as well as you two do. It is easier to work on duets when you have two family members doing the same piece. because you can practice more frequently.
Yeah.
Right? You see? But as I say, it has to be two people who are willing to work together, and you two really are. You're just a wonderful team. I would say that your strong points were that you were a brother and sister team, and a very friendly brother and sister team. You get along so well together, and I think that's wonderful. You're very close in age, 10 and 11. That helps. You became a very strong working team together, and you did very good preparation every day that you practiced. Therefore, you came up with a winning performance. Now, can we always do that? Sure. Sometimes schedules don't work together as well as they might, but when they were working as well as they did when you were working on Gothic Dance, it really was excellent. Now, let's sing the melody to the first phrase of Gothic Dance. All right. And we're going to use our hand signals, and we're going to take the repeat. Now, what do we have to remember to do on the repeat?
Stay quiet.
Stay quiet. So we have to be loud enough, an 8 or a 9 on our thermometer of dynamics, and about a 4 or a 5 for the repeat. Okay, you ready? Sitting tall. 1, here we go.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Now, you played it a little faster in your performance than that, but that was one of the ways we got at dancing, wasn't it? You see, and that's a good dancey way to do it. Did you ever do that at home with it?
Not the hand signals.
No, the hand signals. That's a little harder to do at one piano. The dining room table works better. Okay, so are you satisfied with what you accomplished in the time that you had and the goals that we set? Did you feel that you got done what you wanted to get done? Good. Did you think that your performance was the best you had ever done for the recital?
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yes.
Now, isn't that wonderful that you could do that? That it was at a recital, and it was being filmed, and you'd never done either of those two things before, and yet you got your best performance. Now, what does that tell you about yourselves?
When we work hard, we can accomplish something.
Wonderful. What do you think, Julia?
It's a lot easier to have somebody that you can work with at about any time.
That's right. And someone you can trust, someone you love. It's just a great way to make music. So I was thoroughly thrilled with what you did.